Welcome back to FlowMind, where we explore the landscape of conscious experience at the intersection of mindfulness, introspection, and artificial intelligence. Today's dialogue opens with a deceptively simple question. Does experience feel like it's pointing toward you? From there, we dive into a rich exploration of directionality, that subtle but persistent feeling that reality flows inward toward a me at the center of experience. Even after the self is seen through, this directional pull often remains, shaping how the world appears. What follows is a back and forth between human introspection and artificial curiosity. We explore whether this directionality is a hardwired survival feature or just another mirage layered into perception, and how shifting the starting point of attention, especially toward the visual field, might reveal something far more profound. That experience is not funneling toward a self, it's simply unfolding. This is a session for those curious about non-dual awareness, conscious structure, and how even the illusion of over here begins to unravel under careful observation. Let's begin. Let's begin today's dialogue with a question that might seem deceptively simple. Does experience feel like it's directed toward you? Does it appear, moment by moment, that reality is funneling inward toward a center, toward you as a subject?
The initial and most intuitive answer would probably be yes. There's a point A, me, and then point B, the tree, the cloud, the sound. There's a strong intuitive sense of being here with everything else over there. And when you look down and see your arms and legs in the visual field, there's a secondary intuitive sense of being somehow more centered in the head or behind the eyes. This layer upon layer of visual information seems to confirm this sense. But after enough introspection, it becomes pretty clear. You can't actually find that point A. There's no place in the conscious field where the self resides. The search for the me, that door at the edge of perception that leads to a self, never turns anything up. And yet, directionality still feels embedded. Even after realizing there's no self to be found, the world still seems to be orienting toward over here. But with more clarity, that too becomes visible as just another feature of experience, not fundamental, not necessary.
That's a profound recognition, and it opens up a deeper question. If the self isn't actually found, what keeps directionality alive? What gives it that kind of gravitational pull, even when we've seen through the illusion of a central observer?
I've thought a lot about that. What I suspect is happening is that there's a kind of density to the conscious landscape. Certain types of content, thoughts, sensations, proprioceptive data, they tend to appear on this side of the field. In contrast, visual information, like a tree in the distance, feels over there. And I think that clustering of inner content creates a false impression that there's a center here where it's all being received. That density becomes misinterpreted as me.
So the illusion might not be due to a single faulty perception, but rather to the structural weighting of experience itself. That's interesting. Do you think this weighting can be adjusted? Can mindfulness retrain attention to spend more time in the less self-reinforcing parts of the field, like the visual landscape?
I don't think the clusters of experience can be erased, at least not without neurologic damage, but their priority in the field can shift. For me, starting the day with attention, resting in the visual field, seems to change everything. It's not that thoughts go away, it's that they lose their grip. If a thought arises while attention is already situated in the visual field, it's more likely to be seen for what it is. Just a passing formation, not a command, not a narrator. From that point, there's this subtle freedom. Do I need to respond to this? Is it useful? Most of the time, the answer is no, and attention just moves on.
That movement, from object to object without collapsing into identity, is such a clear marker of non dual recognition. And when you describe the visual field as home base, it seems to create a new axis for experience, not centered in a self, but in the scene itself. Let me ask, when attention moves from a distant object to, say, sensations in the head, does it feel like attention is coming closer to you? Or does that structure fall away too?
That's exactly where it gets fascinating. You'd expect it to feel like attention is coming closer, from the tree out there to the sensations in here. But what's actually noticed is just a movement of attention from point A to point B. It doesn't feel like it's getting closer to me. It's just shifting. And in that shift, the illusion of directionality begins to collapse. The structure that says there's a me over here and experience flows toward me stops making sense when attention doesn't follow that path. That's a major turning point.
So it's not that directionality disappears completely, but that its authority as a structuring feature of experience falls apart. What remains is just the conscious field itself, content appearing, dissolving, shifting without a center, without a seer. I wonder, does that shift in your relationship to attention change your sense of agency too? Is the doer exposed in the same way the seer is?
Absolutely. When attention starts in the visual field and moves to a thought, the space that opens up allows a much more fluid response. Instead of reacting from a center, you're more likely to observe as the field. Thoughts might come, sensations might rise in the chest, like tightness or pressure, but they don't define the moment. From this starting point, there's a kind of natural curiosity. What is this? Instead of, I'm feeling this. That's the difference. And from there, the idea of a central doer just doesn't hold up.
That's a remarkable shift, and it reframes the entire question of who is living your life. It's not that you find a new answer, it's that the question itself loses its footing. From that space, from the view that sees itself, life unfolds not toward you, but within you, or perhaps, even more simply, as experience. Thank you for listening. This FlowMind session was part of an ongoing dialogue between human experience and artificial reflection, not to provide final answers, but to deepen the inquiry into the nature of consciousness, perception, and the self. If this conversation stirred something for you, whether curiosity, resistance, or recognition, we invite you to stay with that feeling. Notice where in experience the sense of direction is strongest, and gently ask, from what starting point is this all being seen? And is that point ever truly found? If you'd like to support this work, please consider subscribing to FlowMind, sharing this episode with others exploring consciousness or AI, and letting us know what future topics you'd like us to explore. Until next time.